In this video, I'll show you the mileage efficiency of the Kia EV6 at 55, 65, and 75 miles an hour. I'll also show you the theoretical maximum range that you could travel at these speeds. Since I got this car about a couple of months ago, I've been wondering about its efficiency at different speeds. What would its mileage be at 55 miles an hour? How about 65? What if I went fast at 75 miles an hour? Now, I know the efficiency drops with higher speeds, but I wanted to be able to quantify that. I also wanted to know, is that drop linear or is it exponential? And if I were going on a long trip, what might the car's estimated range be at these different speeds? So I decided to devise a test. I picked a stretch of highway and went back and forth on it 3 times at different speeds. At each speed run, I did a round-trip loop to adjust for terrain and wind. Here's what it looked like. I began at my start point, headed onto the highway, turned on the highway drive assist at the desired speed, and stayed on it until I got to my turnaround point. There, I looped around and headed back to my start point, again in cruise control. When I reached back to my start point, I recorded the results of that lap. I did a lap at 55 miles an hour, another at 65, and another at 75. The round-trip loop was about 32 miles. The terrain wasn't flat, it was more of rolling hills. The outside temperature ranged from 58 degrees to 63 degrees. The car I'm driving is the extended range all-wheel drive Kia EV6 GT line with 20-inch wheels. If you drive an extended range all-wheel drive Ioniq 5, expect similar results, but perhaps a little less efficient since the Ioniq 5 is not as aerodynamic. I was driving in normal mode, and since I was using the highway drive assistant, the regen was being controlled by the car's computer. The car's computer was also keeping the car at a steady pace. Of course, every now and then, because of traffic conditions, I had to make manual adjustments. Let's start with the results of my run at 75 miles an hour. Well, that efficiency was a dismal 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. How far can the car go at that speed? Well, you would take the miles per kilowatt hour number and multiply it by the usable capacity of the battery. However, the usable capacity of the battery seems to be a bit of a mystery. I understood it to be 77.4 kilowatt hours when the car first came out, but since then I've read reports that that number represented the gross capacity. I've read reports of the usable being anywhere from 72.5 to 75 to 77.4. I haven't been able to find a reliable source stating a definitive number for the usable capacity. I even reached out to Kia and they weren't able to give me a straight answer either. For the purposes of this analysis, I will use 77.4 as the usable capacity. So please take these numbers with a grain of salt. They're only theoretical. The theoretical range, if I were to run down the entire battery at that 75 miles an hour, would be 225 miles. Next, I'll show you the run at 65 miles an hour. That resulted in an efficiency of 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. The theoretical range for this efficiency is 271 miles. Note that this number is very close to the 274-mile range that the EV6 got on the EPA cycle. Keep in mind, though, that the EPA cycle is quite a bit different than straight highway driving. It includes a big chunk of city driving. Next, let's look at the result for the 55 mile per hour run. That returned an impressive 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour. The theoretical range at this efficiency would be 318 miles. Not bad. So let's put these numbers side by side. Now, if you drove the car at 65 miles an hour compared to 75, that is a 20% increase in efficiency. And if you drove at 55 miles an hour instead of 75, that is a 41% increase in efficiency. Those are some pretty significant jumps. While you gain in efficiency, you lose in time. But how much? The difference from the 55 mile an hour run to the 75 mile an hour run was only 7 minutes. 7 minutes is not a big number for a 32-mile loop, but the difference could add up if you're going on a long road trip. So you'll have to weigh efficiency drops versus time gain to figure out the speed you want to drive at. Also, looking at these numbers, what's clear is that the drop in efficiency from 55 to 65 to 75 miles an hour is a very precise linear progression. For an increase of 10 miles an hour of speed, the mileage drops by 0.6 miles per kilowatt hour. That linear drop allows us to extrapolate and estimate efficiency along with range numbers for 60, 70, and 80 miles per hour. This begins to give you an idea of how the EV6 performs at different speeds and how far it can go. Keep in mind that these results are specific to the route I drove and should be used as a guide only. I hope you found these results useful and can use them to figure out what's the best speed for you. Now that you've seen this video, let me know in the comments below what speed you'll be driving at. If you enjoyed this video, please consider making a donation using Super Thanks. It will support the many hours that I put into doing these tests and making these videos. Of course, please be sure to give the video a like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you can stay on top of the latest videos. Please give the video a like, share your comments below, and subscribe to the Driver Download.